Hey all, I'm Red, and today I'm going to teach you how to build a very simple and very cheap resin farm in Minecraft 121.4. It'll get you up to 25 stacks of resin per night and requires you to only chop down 1 or 2 pale oak trees to get started. This farm is intended as an early game or a starter resin farm, and I've included much faster automated farms in the description, and there you can also find timestamps for the mechanics, instructions, and the tutorial itself. First of all, here are the materials you'll need, and yes, this is everything. You're going to need 2 ladders, 72 slabs of any type, 16 trapdoors of any type, 16 pale oak logs, and they do have to be pale oak, and 8 creaking hearts. You can start with 1, but then bring back 14 extra pale oak logs if you do. You'll also need a shovel for the entire thing. If you've only got iron unenchanted, you might need 2 or 3. And finally, you'll need a sword with sweeping edge of any level. We're after the sweeping, not the damage. In total, that's 40 logs. In my own testing, it was rare to collect less than 40 from a single pale oak tree, so even 1 pale oak tree should be enough logs to build this. If you are starting with 1 creaking heart, then you'll need to bring back an extra 14, so maybe chop down 2 trees. And creaking hearts only spawn in naturally generated pale oak trees, not ones you plant yourself, but they can be crafted. The easiest way to find your first creaking heart is to punch a creaking at night. The particles will lead you straight to the heart. And while the creaking heart is easily mined with a silk touch axe, you don't need that to get started. If you don't have silk touch yet, pillar up or trap a creaking and punch it until the resin forms on a nearby tree. Collect 9 resin for 1 resin block and use that plus 2 extra logs to craft your first creaking heart. And on a quick side note, you can also mine the hearts with a silk touch pickaxe, although it takes a much longer time. The creaking mob is new in 121.4. It spawns at night or during thunderstorms when a creaking heart is between 2 pale oak logs facing the same direction as the heart. They spawn within 16 blocks of the heart horizontally and 8 blocks vertically. For example, in a naturally spawned pale oak tree, the logs and heart are always connected on the y-axis, and this works if the logs and heart are placed horizontally as well. Creakings can spawn on typically non-spawnable spaces, such as those protected by buttons, and on surfaces made of glass. They cannot spawn on lower slabs or in water or on dirt paths. Creakings cannot be directly killed in survival and don't drop any items or experience. However, creakings who are attacked by the player cause resin clumps to grow on blocks near the creaking heart. This effect can be triggered every 5 seconds. And you'll know when it's possible because there are particles and they'll stop moving toward the creaking. 9 of the resin clumps will make a block of resin. That block plus 2 pale oak logs can be crafted into another heart. At the end of just 1 night of using the farm, you'll have enough resin to make over 150 extra creaking hearts for a bigger and better farm later. Creakings can't move when the player is looking at them, but if you turn away, they'll move very quickly toward you. In order to use the farm, we're going to rely on this mechanic to ensure the creakings chase after the player and fall into the hit chamber. And when sunrise comes or the thunderstorm passes, creakings will all despawn and there's no way to keep them, including boats, minecarts, name tags, or any other typical way to prevent despawning. You can also build this farm over the ocean, and a schematic is included in the description to do that. To build the farm, you're going to need a 38 by 38 area. Preferably this is flat, but if it's not, you can place slabs on every block within the area to ensure nothing can spawn near the farm, including the creakings. This farm relies on spawning creakings in a confined space with no other spawnable spaces within 16 blocks of a creaking heart. If there are caves nearby, you won't spawn all 8 creakings above ground every time, and you should fill those in or slab every spawnable space. If one or more of your logs isn't spawning resin at all, it's very likely the creaking for that log spawned underground, so you need to check for that during the next day. Start the farm 22 blocks from the left and 18 blocks into the prepared area. If you didn't prepare an area yet, you can start anywhere. Okay, let's build this, and I'm going to do it in survival. First, dig a 4 long, 2 wide trench that is 2 blocks deep. Next, dig a 2x2 that is 2 blocks deep, centered on this trench on either side. I'll choose the side that I'm on. Repeat another 2x4 trench, 2 blocks deep, opposite the first one, to make a sort of an H shape. Choose one of the indented pieces to be the entrance in the front of the farm. I'm going to choose the side that I'm on and mark it with a torch. Next, drop down inside the hole, collect all the blocks, and lower the center 2x2 area by an extra block. Dig a 2 wide by 2 high tunnel that's 3 blocks deep, in the direction you're facing, which should be away from the front of the farm. Go to the end of this new tunnel and punch a 2x2 hole in the ceiling. The 2 here, and the 2 here. That should leave these 2 right here. And while facing the center of the farm, place 2 ladders on these middle blocks right there. On each of the 2 long trenches, remove the 4 blocks closest to the center. Now slab the entire bottom of the pit as shown. On each of the long sides, now place 4 pale oak logs facing up like this. Place 4 temporary blocks, probably the dirt that you've already collected, on top of those. Now exit the pit and place 4 more pale oak logs facing up on top of both sides. Confirm now that everything looks exactly like I have it here. On the back 2x2, place 4 upper trap doors on the back in front of the hole like this, and open all 4. Turn around and place temporary blocks against the inner side of all 8 top pale oak logs. Place lower trapdoors on all 8 of those blocks and flip those open. Drop into the front entrance hole and close the 4 trapdoors above you. Face the pale logs on either side and crouch place 2 trapdoors on the back side of the ones above, like this. Repeat that on the other side, and then open all 8 trapdoors above you. Go to the front of the farm and place an extra solid block on both of these ones that have trapdoors on them. At the back end of both of those lines, continue them both by an extra 2 blocks. This should make them even with the trapdoors below. Now you can slab every block on both of these solid lines. Place a slab on the first pale oak log toward the front of the farm, and then continue a line of slabs on the same height, adding 17 additional slabs for a total of 18, most of which are going to be floating. Do the same with 18 on the other side. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. And now just connect the back line. You should now have a 4x11 spawning space for the Creakings. Go inside and place a torch anywhere in this spawn area. The farm itself is done, but now we need to spawn proof. Go to any of the 4 corner pale oak logs. That's this one, this one, this one, and this one. Now turn away from the other pale oak logs and slab or path 16 blocks diagonally. Repeat this for the other 3 corner pieces of pale oak until you now have 4 pathed or slabbed lines. And remember, buttons and other spawn proofing will not work for this. You should also create path under each of the floating slabs surrounding the spawn area. Now let's just connect the 4 corners of that. You'll want to do the ones leading into the farm as well here. You won't be able to do the ones under the trapdoors. And now you need to make every block within this area spawn proof except for the ones in the spawn area. This is what it should look like when you're done. It's not required, but I recommend adding torches anywhere nearby where other types of hostile mobs can spawn. They won't break the farm, but you don't want creepers creeping and dropping on you. Enter the farm during the day and replace any of the temporary blocks above each of the bottom pale oak logs with a creaking heart that faces up and down, not toward you. It should turn orange when placed. Next, remove the temporary blocks under the slabs here as well. If you don't have the 8 hearts to start the farm, leave the remaining temporary blocks in place on these logs for now. After the first night, you'll have more than enough to finish it. And again, remember to remove these ones above you. The farm is done. To use it, go to the front of the farm, but not inside as night approaches. As the Creakings spawn, you'll want them to see you, then turn away so they run after you. Move back and forth left and right on the ladder, facing away from the Creaking, until they've all filtered themselves into the farm. If they're having trouble, jump out of the hole and start to walk out of the farm. This usually draws the last 1 or 2 all the way in. Once all 8 Creakings are in the farm, go back inside and close the lower 4 trapdoors above you. You should now be locked completely into the farm safely. Crouch and just barely go under the solid blocks. Don't walk into where the Creakings can hit you. That's bad. You can only hit Creakings every 5 seconds, so sweep at them, then break all the resin on all the logs you can. With practice, you can easily break every single resin and have time to spare. And as you clear the resin, you should occasionally step out from under the solid block and go into the log chambers to collect every drop before it despawns. When day comes, the Creakings will despawn themselves for you. Collect the rest of your resin, you can leave the farm. In this one night, I collected over 20 stacks of resin while testing various clearing methods. On average, the farm should produce 20 to 30 stacks of resin per night without trying too hard. And if you are having trouble breaking all of the resin in under the 5 seconds, try focusing on the bottom 4 on each side. These are the 8 easiest to get, and you can still get 12 to 15 stacks per night this way instead of 25, and it's much easier. If you had fewer than 8 Creaking Hearts to start, take the time to craft the rest now and fill them in where the temporary blocks are to get your farm up to full speed. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.